Welcome to Taking Stock. I'm Amanda Lang. Coming up on the show, there's help for the steel industry, but is it enough amidst a trade war? And is artificial intelligence coming for your job? The more you studied, the worse off you might be. Plus, retail is still struggling to find its footing. We'll dig in. That's all ahead. First, for the week that was in business, it's time for the briefs. Inflation in Canada was 1.9% in June, high enough that most economists think the Bank of Canada will not lower interest rates in a couple of weeks. Even as gas prices fell, they didn't fall steeply enough to offset gains in car and furniture prices. A key measure of core inflation is still running above 3%, outside the bank's target. Strong jobs data recently also weakens the case for rate cuts. Prime Minister Carney said this week that any new trade deal with the U.S. would likely include some form of tariffs on goods as trade negotiations continue ahead of a now August 1st deadline. If a deal isn't struck by then, President Trump has threatened to levy 35% tariffs on Canada and on other countries. The federal government announced new quotas on steel imports. Steel and aluminum from Canada continue to face U.S. tariffs as high as 50%. Now, imported steel above certain levels will be tariffed at 50% as well. Ottawa will spend $70 million on training and income supports for workers and provide more than $1 billion in supports to the steel industry. The pace of sales picked up in June, with national activity up 3.5% from last year and prices falling slightly. The national average home price was $691,000 in June, down from the year prior, but up slightly from May. Data from CREA suggests that home sales will fall 3% this year, compared to an April forecast that expected sales to be flat. 560 wildfires were burning across Canada this week, 155 of them considered out of control. Manitoba continued to be hard hit, and air quality alerts were issued for much of that province, as well as Ontario and Quebec. The city of Thompson, Manitoba, remained on an evacuation notice, with 13,000 people prepared to move. Google has signed a contract for $3 billion of hydropower from Brookfield Asset Management. The 20-year deal is the largest in the world and will source the power from 2 hydro projects in Pennsylvania. Google plans to invest $25 billion in data centers in Pennsylvania and neighboring states in the next few years. And those are your business briefs. We have new quotas on imported steel and help for workers displaced by the trade wars. Those are 2 of the steps Ottawa is taking to shore up Canada's steel producers. But is it enough? Michael Garcia is CEO of Algoma Steel. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure, Amanda.
This help, of course, comes in the context of the Prime Minister saying there are likely to be some form of tariffs, Michael. So I wanted to start there. We're negotiating a deal. What can you live with as an industry if there is some form of tariff on the other side of a new trade agreement?
Well, it's hard to answer with one number. I think there's several pieces to this puzzle. There's obviously the tariff rate. There's whether it's announced as part of a ramp or part of a beginning of a further negotiation with a goal of getting the tariff rate down to a second level. Mm-hmm. And there's also the state of the domestic market and how fast the activities around building Canadian strong can pick up speed. So definitely we know that 50% is not a deal that works for Canada, as the Prime Minister has been alluding to. He wants a deal that works for Canada. It certainly doesn't work for Algoma Steel, but we are hopeful that a tariff rate that's significantly lower, although we acknowledge that it may not be zero, is something that we can see soon so that we can move forward with more clarity.
And of course, as you move forward, keeping the domestic industry strong does seem to be part of the approach here. That the whole procurement idea, buying Canadian, how quickly can that take effect? I mean, that's an important change. It's, I think, a welcome one to folks in the industry. How quickly do you start to see it show up?
We do welcome it, and I think it depends on the specific project. There are projects now, bridges, pipelines that can easily be built with Canadian steel, and the government has already declared an intention for that to happen. So I think those type of projects can be built quite easily. There's other projects that may have more complicated supply chains that aren't quite in place, or supply chains that have contracted over the years. I'm thinking of shipbuilding. So, there's a lot of energy around shipbuilding, both in Ontario province and out in Vancouver. It's a capability that Canada used to have, but it's lost some of that capability in the recent past couple of decades. So the timing of that would have more to do with, can the fabricating and the shipbuilding enterprises stand themselves up and get going. The steel that they need is ready. We're ready to produce marine grade shipbuilding steel. We've done it in the past. We can easily do it going forward. So I think it really deals on a project by project basis, but I expect that a lot of it can happen sooner rather than later with the right leadership from the government, which they are providing.
Only about 30 seconds here, but can you also diversify away from that U.S. market? 90% of Canadian exported steel goes to the U.S. Can we do that differently?
That's our intention. When all this is kind of behind us and we have a more stable trading relationship, I don't necessarily want to get back to the old days where Algoma Steel shipped 60% of our steel to the U.S. I think Canada needs our steel going forward, and we want to be there, and we want the majority of our steel to go forward. It may take some investments to make maybe certain products of steel and certain forms of steel that we no longer make today, but we're ready to do that with the right support and alignment and understanding of the opportunity.
Michael, so good to have you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Amanda.
Michael Garcia is CEO of Algoma Steel. Coming up, the labor market faces huge disruption. How can we find the people and the skills we need to meet it? Stay with us.